2, 1, boost ignition, and liftoff, and all systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and the Bean universe. Lesbo and the Bean. LATB, LaTB, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and the Bean.
Welcome back. Episode 189. We got another weekend full of fights coming out of St. Petersburg. Woo woo! Going back. It's been a little bit of time.
St. Petersburg's where?
Russia. You can't, don't tell me about the province. I don't even, sea level, I don't know.
We don't know if it's at sea level or not, but we do know maybe a dirty commission.
I was about to say, hey, might be a little worried going to decision against a Russian in Russia.
And also the fight's at a weird time.
10:30 a.m. Remember to check your local listings.
Eastern and Pacific time in the United States.
Definitely. Make sure that BT2 Sports is locked on because we are going to have a 13-card bout. But before we get into that, you know how we like to get into them deep-ass conspiracy theories. There's been quite a lot of news going on in the MMA community. Where would you want to take it? How have you been since we last met? Because we had one of the fights, apparently of the century, because I don't feel like I bragged enough about it. I was kind of on the naysayer, but now that I'm hearing all the commentary, everyone's like, that's one of the top 3 best fights of all time. Adesanya versus Kelvin Gastelum.
That's what I said.
I
think it is one. It's my favorite fight. The more I think about it, it makes me very emotional, that fight. And I think that is the sign of good art. When you look at it and become emotional.
Always see something new.
Yes, and the way both gentlemen have been after the fact makes me emotional as well. They've been nothing but perfect sportsmen. Like I feel like all of 236, that's what I'll say about the 4 guys at the head of the event. Perfect sportsmen. Like gentlemen. Fucking gentlemen.
Totally. Dustin Poirier being one of those guys who's really been getting a lot of fight kits sold and donated towards his playground in Florida for all children with disabilities and just regular abilities. So it's going to be an all-inclusive playground class act. I mean, he takes his championship belt and is like, all right, guys, let's help build a special education playground. Stand-up move.
And Max Holloway donated his gloves to
fight.
Dustin.
So did Joe Ban.
Yeah.
And I believe there was a couple other guys that ended up at equipment.
Joe Ban, not as classy afterward. Not really as classy afterward.
He usually does good, but he ran away.
He cried backstage and to every reporter that would listen about how he would like to look those judges in the eyes and tell them the what's what. And I have to say about that Alan Jouban fight, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you think that he won that fight, you have to also think Max Griffin beat Dustin Poirier. Because yes, both guys landed more strikes, but Max Holloway, sorry. That you also think Max Holloway beat Poirier.
Right, which I do.
Some people, yeah, you do.
Split. I had a split to say. I had a draw. I had it as a draw.
You think he won that? Oh, you agree with Khabib then?
I agree with Khabib. I thought it was a 10-8 first round, and then the last 3 I gave on my official verdict. I had Holloway winning the last 3. I know he got hurt in the 4th round, but it was a 10-8 first round, and Dustin won the second, making it 47-47 on my verdict when I went back and did the research.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all, but even still at a draw, I think you would have to think that Holloway won if you think Jouban won. Because the other guy won, Dustin won, sure. And Grant won by damage and by takedowns.
Yes.
So it's like damage laid and takedowns laid versus more strikes. And I think that's it. Those are both those fights. And I just saw a lot of people hating on... no one really hating on Grant. I'm just hating on Jouban for, it wasn't egregious. It just wasn't egregious.
I totally agree with that, too.
I fucking bitch. I talk about it if it ain't good, but that was too close to get all nasty about.
I totally agree. If you get early stoppage or something like that, little more to complain, poked in the eye, something like that, but losing a dirty-ass split decision, again, cutting the corner would have fixed a lot of that chasing, so he can only complain so much. A lot of it has to look, which I'm sure he has already gotten back in the gym. He's talking about other fights, but he was pretty upset about it affecting his potential negotiations for his new contract, because I do believe that might have been his last fight And not winning it, especially in the way he did, makes it a little rough for him.
If I'm Joban, honestly, he makes more money somewhere else for,
Modeling, right? Supposedly.
I just think at another fight organization and maybe not against his tough guys.
May I throw in a contender? I think the career that Joban can get into, and we can have a little fun with it. I know Invicta has one ring boy, doesn't need two. Or ring man, not doesn't need ring men. Joban comes in, a little tussle, a little fight back and forth.
I think it's so silly. I don't think Joban would get down with it. And I even wonder if Elias regrets doing it. Now he's locked in.
I don't think he does. I think he's that type of person who enjoys it and makes fun of it. And he's like, I'm a ring man. Ha, cheeky smile. So I think Spartan's live with it. Where, as you're saying, Joban, he's that high class ass. You gonna have to put down top dollar.
Yeah, you can't afford Joban.
Exactly. Yeah.
This ain't no pretty woman. Joban, you might as well get Luke Rockhold.
Exactly, 2 for 1.
We'll just go with it. I've been the TJ Dillashaw thing. Did you hear his interview that he gave? Did you listen to the whole thing?
I didn't listen to it. I just saw the round.
Interview. It was just an Instagram post.
Right, with his shoulder, but his chin, it was TJ Dillashaw's older brother. That was nuts.
Who, Fat Travis, or whatever his name is that he calls himself?
Fat Travis, yes, there you go.
He calls himself Fat something. Fat Tyler. Fat Tyler.
There you go.
I was re-listening to his video, his explanation video, and everybody's calling it an apology video, but I listened to it more than once. There is no apology in that video.
Yeah.
He never says he's sorry. It's just an explanation of,
what he did.
And he doesn't really ever say why he did it. He talks about his shoulder. He's like, oh, I screwed up. Everything I've been seeing of lately, though, is like, what kind of head case is TJ that he needed that?
A lot of them. There's many people that have many reasons to take steroids for various, so I can't necessarily judge.
It's EPO.
Well, it's EPO, but it falls into that
performance enhancing
and banned substance list as well as EPO being, and a lot of people have really championed this, is you don't just take a pill of EPO. Like, it's a set regimen. People know, and who I don't even think of, who's now been getting brought up, is all of TJ's expert training coaches, and there's his stamina and endurance. Like, don't tell me none of them didn't know. Like, there's no way if you're like, wow, this guy's running way, way faster and way harder than everyone, and he wasn't last week.
It's not even that. The dude, apparently, his
buddy.
He was actually having his blood drawn every day. Like, he was actually having blood work done.
Interesting.
How would you not know? Your blood would be thicker. Yeah, I'm not a scientist, but I would just think an average doctor could see you clotting. Wouldn't you clot different? I don't know.
I totally agree. But again, everyone's getting paid. So everyone's getting paid to shut that out. Just worry about what the next paycheck's at, and we're going to get
it. This is a Brennan Schaub thing that I'm like, ugh. He's like, well, some people, I'm just saying, some people can go to Colorado and train at elevation and come back with thicker blood. That's legal.
I don't think it works like that.
Well, it does add more oxygen to your blood.
Yes. But
I'm like, that isn't the same.
Yeah,
that's the same as saying, like, then why not make running illegal? Because I can't run as far as him. Like, that is not the same at all.
I totally agree.
It's such a dumb argument.
They are different ones, but other MMA news, any other hot topics that, again...
John Jones Adesanya. That's been all week,
I don't like that at all, because that's a 205er against an 85er who barely made 85, so why is he going to go up to 205? It's just, again, more trash talk to keep their names in it, but I don't like it. I think stay in your own divisions. There's plenty of fights for either one of you at your respective divisions right now, so all this crosstalk is just talk. It's just talk, and take it at that. The interesting, really horrible news that was breaking this morning, unfortunately, Angela Magaña, you know how we like to throw a little bit of shade her way, unfortunately is in a coma after emergency surgery. She has not been able to wake up, and it has been actually one of the worst case scenarios. A really terrifying video that I saw posted earlier this morning of her prior to going into surgery in Puerto Rico. I don't know the specific reasons of what her emergency surgery was for. all the video posted was that she was in her gown with her hairnet on, talking to the anesthesiologist, saying that she felt weird. She had never been under anesthesiology, or she had never been put under, and she just felt like she was going to go to sleep and not wake up. And you can hear him on the video that her husband or boyfriend is taping saying, you don't have to worry about those things. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. By the way, some people do have an allergy to this. Do you want to get tested for the allergy, or do you just want to go ahead and get put under? And she was like, oh, whatever, I'm fine. So they think that there was a complication with whatever the medicine was. That's all speculation as of right now. Unfortunately, the really horrible news is we ain't going to see no Magaña booty shots. I'm sorry, Magaña. Nobody deserves that. I know I'm trying to make a little light of it, but hopefully she comes through without any brain damage, because a lot of the times there is some sort of scarring that happens, and she's already got kicked in the face enough as it is. She don't need any more. Have you heard anything about this?
So, no, I haven't, but I just looked it up while you were talking, and it says Magaña, 35, was injured April 7th during training per MMA Junkie and was diagnosed with a herniated disc. She attempted to train through it, taking medication and a nerve block, but it caused a rare neurological disorder per her coaches. Magaña was diagnosed on Tuesday with cauda equina syndrome, which occurs when the bundle of nerves below the end of the spine cord is damaged. She was sent into emergency surgery into her hometown of San Juan, Puerto Rico. Magaña shared the news on Twitter beforehand and asked her coaching staff to share the video. A couple of hours. In one, Magaña said it was a very rare surgery with a couple of hours of recovery before I opened my eyes around 8 p.m., 14 hours after. Magaña shared the news of her surgery. The coaching staff shared Magaña's account of the hospital staff having trouble waking her up. So I have to also say this. What the fuck are you doing getting surgery like that in Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico, that's the immediate thing I think. You don't have electricity or enough food. But it was an emergency situation apparently with this ruptured hernia. But could you even get on a plane with a hernia? Pressure, would that mess it up?
Probably not, honestly. Probably not.
Like
that's saying shitty.
But no, that was my first thought. I'm like, why did you go under the knife in Puerto Rico?
Oh, that's horrible. I really hope she's okay. I hope she's okay. And you know what? I hope she comes back with like a fucking hell of a change of an attitude. I hope she comes back as a very beautiful person with a story to share or something. Tell us. What about Angela Magaña brings back information about the other side? Like the fifth dimension, whatever the fucking case may be.
You're talking that OA talk. You're talking that OA talk.
Yeah, whatever the case may be, she comes back and
She's like, I've seen it. I've seen it.
She's like, I've fucking had a conversation
with
God.
And then she tries to open your eyes. Look at it.
She's like, I had a conversation with God. I never watched Bird Box, though.
Or Bird Box? Yeah. Oh, that's why I was saying your eyes. She's like, oh, you have to see it. Sticks her fingers all up in your eyes.
I don't like being blindfolded. I think I have a weird thing with Bird Box. I think I have a phobia with that, watching somebody blindfolded for that long, or all those people. I know what it's about enough that I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Keith Jardine made an appearance. Nobody talks about that. I'm just saying, me and Keith Jardine was in that beast. So,
get well soon, Angela Magaña.
Get well soon. That's enough Twitter talk. Leaving it on a somber note. You know we got a hell of a bout coming up out of St. Petersburg. This is going to be a fun one. Short notice replacement for the heavyweights. It was going to be headlined by Overeem versus, I can't even remember his opponent, it's been so long now. Against, now stepping in short notice, Oleinik, the Ezekiel Chokemaster himself. What a fun heavyweight bout we have early in the morning.
Oleinik. Yeah, because Oleinik does fight tonight.
It's earlier on the night. Yeah. And that's why I had to watch tape, because we got some dreaded D's, if you know what I'm talking about, on the way. So there was some tape study that had to be a little bit deep, little into that M1 F1 series fighting. And I'm just going to say off the top, not going to put too much money on this one. We are in Russia. I was already thinking that before it even started. We're in Russia. The judges are going to be a little heavy in the vodka. The potatoes are going to be rolling hard in the morning, if you know what I'm saying, out there in Russia. So you got to think the locals are always going to be favorited. From the bottom to the top, though, you know how we always do around here. We start off with a 155-pound division where we have Magomed Mustayev coming in against debuting Rafael Vitsven. The Tarman? Is that literally his nickname? The Tarman. Tarman. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. The 6-0 debut
The
fighter.
Ottoman?
The 6-0
This guy about to get couched up.
fighting out of Kyrgyzstan is fighting actually out of
Kyrgyzstan.
Fighting out
Isn't
of
that
Tiger
where,
Muay Thai. Shevchenko?
Valentina, yeah.
Which you saw now, finally. She's a princess in her hometown.
I didn't watch it yet.
You haven't seen fans, droves and droves
I
of people.
should find it on. Is it on her Insta?
Yes, it's all
I'll
over
find
her
it on her
Insta.
Insta and I'll put it on this spot in the video if I remember.
Definitely a good one to get in there. But
If you
fighting
follow us
culture,
on YouTube, sorry,
just so you know, so you can
Let's
watch
go in
it.
the bean for now. Until we change the name.
And teasing.
Teasing.
Just like with this.
And we're batting
Ottman.
around, so you guys know to keep you in the breast if anyone wants to talk to us.
Ooh.
Plan B, Lat B, the morning after.
Is this our poll officially? Is this our unofficial poll officially?
Not yet, because we're open still. If somebody else has a great idea, we might be like, all three of those bunked. We like that idea the best.
Okay.
And what about if they vote one that we're like, that's our least favorite? I'm not going with it.
So right now up in the air, the what we're thinking of changing it to is Lat B, Plan B, or
the morning after.
the morning after. Okay.
Or any of the above. You might come out with the greatest name, and you can email us your thing at lesboandthebean@gmail. You can hit us up on latb_MMA on Instagram or lesboandthebean on Instagram. And if you go to lesboandthebean on Instagram, you should be following both of us at Zoltanite and at Weakneck Baby. And that was early to do that, but I just kept it all together since I was talking about it anyway.
It's a smart move. The 6-0 fighter is fighting out of the Tiger Muay Thai scene, so he's getting top-level competition. I think Mikey Squick's up there. We got Roger Huerta and all of the sorts of Russian fighters. The Phuket, Thailand, that's where he's calling home now. And great left hook on this young man. 26 years old. He does brawl a little bit. At times, he'll just throw. When he's initially starting off a lot of his fights, I did end up catching most of them. He is fighting lower level competition, and the feeling out process was 1-for-1, where he would literally just throw a left, just throw a right, just throw a kick, and then finally once he got a little pressure coming back into him, he actually reacted well. At times he can throw his head down and just start slinging hooks, but this Thai fighter has good scrambles on the ground, and when he takes control of the octagon, he only moves forward. So he'll step with a hard right, switch his stance, and then throw a hard left, power hard left. So he's going to be someone that's going to be hard to deal with. Again, the level of caliber that I saw against him was able to hit him once or twice, but usually him just moving forward really was able to stifle a lot of guys on the ground. Serviceable. Again, level of competition against the 13-3 UFC veteran in Magomed Mustayev. He's coming off of a loss over 2 years, 4 months ago to Kevin Lee. I do believe he had a bit of a suspension for a banned substance. I don't know if it was officially deemed that he knew or didn't know what was happening.
2 years.
Coming out of Jackson Wink.
That's a harsh. We find out the 2 years are the EPO substances, the really harsh ones.
So out of Jackson Wink, just throwing that out there.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying, not the only guy who's ever been popped out of that area, but we know he comes in with a good game plan. The Russian fighter has obviously fought in Russia before, or way earlier in his career, and it shouldn't be such a bad trip for him, but all the way around, Mustayev tends to wrestle a lot more. His striking is good and serviceable. His submission to Kevin Lee started off with a couple punches, finally getting there. He did slow down in that Kevin Lee fight, or he kind of looked not as good as he usually does, and I can't remember the injury that he said coming into that, but hey, he's had a full break. I think it's going to be a grappling heavy match. I think the Russian likes to get it down there. They both actually mimic each other fairly well standing, other than Mustayev will throw more hook kicks or like body kicks, spinning kicks to the body. I do think that with his veteranship, his long time, at 30 years old, at 28, he took 2 years off. I think he's only going to potentially grow. I have decision. This is the first fight of the night. I got the favorite here. We usually tell you to stay away, and there's a reason for that. I think that Rafael, the Tat Man himself, or Tan Man, has a live shot, and I say this is a dogger pass play as far as DraftKings or betting-wise, but I'm picking the favorite straight up. We got a live dog in this one. This is a fun addition, I believe, at 155 pounds. Who do you have in this fight, and why?
You know, if they're from Kyrgyzstan, they know how to fight. It's like, it
National
seems to
pastime.
be like a Dagestan. Maybe all the stands. And I think we've said this before.
We have. We 100% have.
But Mustafa Fayev, he is going to be back, and he's probably juiced, and the UFC is going to be know he's juiced, so he's only going to fight in Russia and these kind of cards from now on and kind of work his way up the card.
Great point.
There's something, I think Vaziev is going to have quite a lot to deal with, but I also agree he's not going to be a walkthrough. I think this could go to decision. Or Mastayev, I could have him a late TKO, because I do think he has crazy power, and just if he is on anything, he's just going to walk right through, just have that cardio, that TJ Dillashaw cardio. So, I'm going to stay away from this fight. I really don't know enough about Fiziev, and I think Mastayev, this is a lot of Viev. Magomed, I think I don't like that he's been off for 2 years. So, first fight of the night. It's a pretty hefty first fight of the night for Russia.
8,500 for the favorite Mustayev against the debuting Rafael Tamans, 7,700 on DraftKings. I'm going to probably stay away from this one a lot. Actually, if there's a person to play, I think it's going to be Rafael there. Out of the two at 7-7.
I think this should be a card, since neither of us are feeling that excited about betting the card. I think this is a card, let's just try playing by every LaTB rule.
Oh, okay. Okay, so stay away from that fight. It's not going to be worth shit on DraftKings. So, on to 205 pounds. We have... None of these guys are okay. We have so many hard names tonight. Just so it's going to be a rough one, fans.
Give us a minute.
Exactly. I practiced some of these too, but it's hard when you have Gatsmur and
Sometimes
Tigula.
they're easier until you start to try to read it.
Yeah. Once letters get...
Especially with Polish names and Russian names mixed together, and then add Kyrgyzstan and even the country's names
As soon as you throw letters into reading for me, it gets all mixed up.
We got easy stuff like Florida, Louisiana, California.
Exactly. So, Antigulov coming in against Mikhail Oleinik. Oleinik being 13-2, getting a draw against Khalil Roundtree decision. I do think he popped for steroids on that. What was that?
Just another pop for steroids.
Steroids, just another guy. Took a little bit of a break. A year, 3 months ago, he came back and TKO'd John Vellante.
He must have not known about it. They must have found it in a substance if he took a year off.
I believe it was. I believe he proved that he didn't take it knowingly, so it might have been 6 months or 8 months compared to whatever. But Mikhail came in and got a body shot over John Vellante over a year, 3 weeks ago. He tends to be a striker, has a bunch of M1 experience in the UFC. He hasn't looked bad. His takedown defense is iffy, but he just manages to keep it up where he likes to keep it striking-wise. Throws good 2 and 3 punch combinations, but then will throw up one of those left high kicks or right high kicks to finish off his combos. So we tend to like that. For the 24-year-old, he's growing leaps and bounds every time we see him in here. That Roundtree fight was a grind of a fight, but Vellante, even though it's not it doesn't look that absolutely amazing, Valente's a serviceable guy, and you do have to be able to get him out of there. A lot of guys can't. And Michel showed an amazing body shot. Go back to it. Vellante didn't have a chance. Completely shit himself in the ring in there, and it was a greatly placed shot.
But not really, because that does happen.
Antigulov coming in having a 20-5 record. He has fought a few times in the UFC now. It's been at least 2 fights. He won his debut against Joaquin Christensen a year, 11 months ago. And then last lost to Ian Kutalaba 8 months ago via ground and pound elbows. Antigulov, well-rounded at 32 years old. Serviceable striking, not tons of power. On the ground, he's more than serviceable. He likes to get it to the ground to get his ground game going, but he's been already proven to not have the strongest ground game either. On the local regional scenes, he was having a lot more success. Now that he's had a couple fights, he just doesn't look like the biggest standout as usual. And out of both of these fighters in their last 2 fights, I don't think I'm the only one seeing it. Michel seems to be growing a lot faster. The 24-year-old is just... He got it quick done against Vellante, but Vellante, he's not a paper towel. I mean, you can't trust Vellante, but you can't trust him because he can finish you as well. So Mikel has done what he needed to, where
Antigulov hasn't. For all intents and purposes, his last few fights, with the exception of that one, he was going to decision.
Exactly. So I got Mikel. He's a decided favorite here, and I see why as well. Younger fighter with just a little more avenues, more power, and especially striking-wise. I potentially see a finish here. I got it round number 2 once the wrestler Antigulov is like, damn it, this guy's not going down. Think he looks for a way out. Give it to me. Finish round number 2. Who do you have in this fight?
I agree. I could even see it happening round number 1. I almost think it's a setup fight for Oleinik. Antigulov, in a lesser in a heftier division, he might not be UFC caliber. It's just because this is the 205. I almost think it's a setup fight. Give the Polish fighter a win. I think there's going to be a lot of Poles in the house. So I am just guessing. I haven't even looked at the rest of this card. I've still been high off Adesanya Gastelum.
Definitely.
Just guessing. I'm going to guess there's a lot of Polish and Russian fighters throughout.
Do you know who your favorite Pole of the night is yet?
Valentina isn't really Polish, but she's kind of Polish. She's already in St. Petersburg.
Oh, waiting.
Homegirl,
she got a sister.
Oleinik, she actually was filming Oleinik's open workout. It was pretty cool.
Oh, very, very cool. So, keep up on all that social media stuff, but on DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the minus 225 favorite, Mikhail Oleinik, for 8,800 against
I love
Antigulov.
A Polish fighter.
Oh, you always know that. Against Antigulov, who's 7,400. I'm not going to be playing Antigulov anywhere. I'm actually going to be like 40% Oleinik on my limited cards that I do have. Because, again, we both have a round 2 TKO finish. Yeah. I mean, that's 75 points. DraftKings on top of all of the damage.
How much on DraftKings was he?
8. He's close. He's got to get a finish to pay it off. Yeah,
but right now I like him for my card.
I agree with that. Totally agree
on some of my cards, half Z's, and then the other guy, no Z's.
100 Z's. 265 pounds. We have Marcin Tybura coming in against Shalim Abdurakhimov. Are you like that? That was pretty good. So,
we're there.
We're right. We're there. 265 pounds. Both of these men have fights in the UFC. The 19-4 Abdurakhimov is coming in off a 2-fight winning streak, last beating Andrei Arlovsky 6 months ago. Prior to that, beating, who was it in there as well? Chase Sherman, TKO punches, has lost to Derek Lewis, and has had a couple other marquee wins in there against Walt Kerr's split decision and Anthony Hamilton. Abdurakhimov has had mixed competition level. I mean, I would say out of all that, Derek Lewis and Andrei Arlovsky are probably the 2 best guys. Chase Sherman is in there. Walt Harris. Like, look at the competition level, and Shamil's definitely had an easier route at the heavyweight division in my eyes. He could be making that up, but throws a heavy overhand right, likes to get his wrestling involved, and definitely Shamil is much, much better fighter on the ground when he's on top, landing all of that heavy ground and pound. But if he can't get it there, or if he has trouble getting it there, his striking isn't good enough to stand with a lot of these top-level UFC heavyweights or any weights. He's just very limited in his striking. Again, it's pretty much that overhand right. He'll paw away with that left hand, but he'll more just paw that hand out of the way to try to hit the right into a double leg, single leg, high crotch type situation. Marcin Tybura is 17-4, only losing to Verdum in the UFC and Derek Lewis as well, so they share that. But last beating Stefan Struve 8 months ago in a decision, also beating Andrei Arlovsky. They have a shared win there. And I'd say a little underwhelming win against Luis Henrique. Not De Silva, the Brazilian wrestling champ. Little difference. But Taburo's come in with mainly a kicking game. The Polish fighter's 33 years old, has good power. He actually gets both legs up there pretty quick. It's amazing at times where you're like, holy shit, that guy just threw left, right, a good left jab into a right, and then finished it with a right kick, which we like here. His takedown defense has been serviceable. He is able to get taken down in there, but he also has a good pummeling and clinch technique, so it's hard. If guys do get him down in there, they have to work at it. He doesn't just fall over and give it up. And on the ground, he's been able to get up there, but if Shalim gets him down, he could hold him down there the entire round. So I actually see this being a little bit closer than the odds have it. Tybura is a slight favorite at minus 180, and I think it could be a little bit closer. I think the line should be minus 140, probably plus 105 for Shalim. I think Tybura can keep it standing long enough to land enough punches, and it looks worse on the scorecards. I don't think Abdurakhimov quits in there by any means, but again, with this damage and everything we're seeing, he is in the hometown. That could change my mind. This is a dirty-ass split type of fight. Give me Tybura, but I'm going to probably end up staying away from this.
I have to say, I had Abdurakhimov, but only because I think this is going to go to decision, and it's going to be those ones that might piss off Twitter, but in the long run, we're going to forget it was a robbery.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But I feel like if it goes to decision, Tybura's in danger here of losing that decision.
I see this being along the cage. I see this being played up along the cage, no strikes.
Also been in Russia where we are like surprised at how honest they were. Wasn't that the place we were last time, that we were actually surprised where we agreed with the judges more often than
Depends
not?
on where in Russia. We got to look specifically at St. Petersburg.
I think Marcin Tybura is a better fighter here, and for all intents and purposes should be able to win, but he doesn't really. Andrei Arlovsky decision's the best thing he has going, and then the decision with Verdum is kind of awesome. That decision with Verdum, it makes me think that he should be able to get through Abdurakhimov, because Verdum's great on the ground, has an okay ground and pound, and he wasn't able to submit Marcin. So I'm like, okay, he's gotten better at that. And this guy also has heavy hands. Gosh.
This is a dirty-ass split in my eyes. Dirty-ass split.
I think so, too. I'm going to go with that Abdurakhimov decision here. I think it's nasty, and I think Tybura, I agree with you. The line's a little off.
Because he is a minus 180 favorite right now. I'm pulling up. There's so many unique names. I'm pulling up on DraftKings. Here we go. The exact lines.
There's so many unique names. I'm asking Siri how to say this.
Tybura, 8,400 for the slight favorite on DraftKings against Abdurakhimov, 7,800. I don't think this is a high score either way. I think it's a lot of against the cage, a lot of sweating, a lot of grunting. As you're saying, it's not going to be a memorable fight by the end of it.
You don't think anyone's getting knocked out?
I don't see, if there's a knockout for me, I see that it's Tybura gets the knockout.
I think they both have knockouts.
Equal chance?
Yeah.
Well, it's heavyweight division.
Yeah, that's why it's like, if there could be, but I see it as a boring fight as well.
I see it, so definitely probably a stay away if you're going to be trying to save any money on this one. At 155 pounds, we have returning Alexander Yakovlev coming in against debuting Alex De Silva. I can't 100% quote that because you know them Brazilians got 25, 28 names. So it could be De Silva, Joaquin, Jalinquez, Marinquez, all of that good stuff. And
De Silva is like Smith.
100%. 100%. And then Alex De Silva, like the dad doesn't separate it at all. It actually probably makes it worse when it comes into names.
For sure.
But Leco is coming in with a 20-1 record. Fighting out of the Brave scene out of Brazil, the Santa Carita, Brazil, is coming in with a 2-fight winning streak after his first loss ever, beating Fernando Coleman, who was 7-1, and also beating a 3-0 fighter, a Russian Michich in there. I did watch some of Silva's fights, and he's a great striker. He's a Muay Thai striker who actually has tons of power. I don't want to say he's an Edson Barbosa, but you could make those type of similarities in some of his striking, some of his leg kicks. Actually, his cardio a little bit better than I thought. I saw him face a couple good wrestlers in there that actually had some good records earlier on in his career. And he, for the first round of one of the fights I caught against Danny Smith or something like that, He got taken down 3 solid times in the fight, was even started to get ground out a little bit. Second round came out and looked fresh as days. So I was actually pleasantly surprised with this young man's cardio in the crazy amount of fights he's had. 20 fights at 23 years old. Again, a lot of cans in there. There's a lot of 0-0 or 1-6 fighters that he was fighting early on in his career. So there was a point in time to Silva.
He could have that Brazilian age. He could be like 17.
True.
Or 37.
But there was a time where De Silva won 3 fights in 7-8 days. So imagine how that pads your record. When you're just fighting guys that are putting down the donuts and beer and walking into the cage like, oh, I didn't know I was going to fight. Now I get to fight for free. Or now I get to get in for free and watch the fights. So
that's Max Holloway style.
That's what I'm saying. De Silva's fighting those type of guys. We'll see which one of them becomes a champ. So De Silva tends to be a Muay Thai striker. On the ground, really not that good. He scrambles well and gets into unique positions, but it's more just because he's moving instead of actually putting in proper technique. But he's serviceable. He understands the ground game. It just, especially now that he's going to get into the UFC, I actually see this heavily going to the ground.
Really?
Yeah. I am interested with Yakovlev, the 24-9-1 fighter, is coming off of a 2-fight losing streak. Last losing to Kamaru Usman 2 years, 8 months ago. And then last losing to Zach Cummings 2 years ago. Straight arm lock. Has since took a 2-year break. I don't know if it was a pop for steroids. I have a feeling like it might have been some sort of a banned substance.
Some Russian substance.
Exactly. He's now fighting in Russia. But Yakovlev had a big hype train coming in. He was known as a striker with good takedown defense, and Kamaru Usman showed him real quick that that shit ain't gonna work around here. Zach Cummings, D1 wrestler, also said, hold on, buddy, we're not gonna let you get your striking off because you're a good striker. More of a counter striker, great head movement, sets up tricky shots. We haven't seen it much for Yakovlev as of late, because again, his last 2 fights were heavy wrestlers. So a lot of people tend to think that, oh, he goes and gets a lot of wrestler, or tends to like to grind in there, and he doesn't. He grinds because people make him, because they don't want to keep striking with him. He has lost to Nico Misoke decision, but he has a win in there as well against Gray Maynard back in the day, and George Sylvain via TKO as well over 3 years ago. But Yakovlev at 34 he's going to have a lot more fight experience in there. It's not going to get to him. This young 23-year-old, we've seen it time and time again. Not only is he fighting in Russia, where he fought most of his other fights in Brazil, flying across, the lights are always a little bit brighter. And now Yakovlev has proven on the ground that he's good enough to not be submitted. I don't see Silva throwing up any type of submissions to get there. And striking-wise, even though I like what I saw from Silva, he leaves openings. At times he gets a little true brawly, where Yakovlev will go to that split decision or scorecard, and he'll just line up the better shots the whole way. As well as being in Russia, the crowd's going to make more noise for him. I think there's a solid decision, and I think that if Yakovlev starts to get picked apart, he can take it to the ground. If it doesn't, he can pick him apart standing, but he has way more avenues. I think that this should be a bigger favorite. I'm surprised that it's only -130 Yakovlev. I think this could be that -180. I see Yakovlev being decidedly better here. I don't know what I saw in the tape. I'm just trying to let you know. Who do you have in this fight and why? Wow, Tapology has really interesting numbers. I don't look at Tapology in that sense until
I was looking at it on yours. So
oh,
I
interesting.
Look at it on mine.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I guess I blanked that out, but a lot of DraftKings people think that Silva's going to get a knockout here or submission. Wow, 71%. And the tide's turning. Yakovlev being a big favorite that's turned the other way. Starting to get closer.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that you see that it's going to go to the ground at all. I see it more just staying a striking match. And to me, Yakovlev's so serviceable on the ground that he wants to stay standing as well. And most guys don't want to stand with him. So I almost think this is a setup fight, almost like it's a setup fight to be a knockout. They handpicked the guy that was going to stay and stand striking with this Russian guy to blow up the house in Russia, this guy being back and knocking him out. I have Yakovlev decision right now. I'm going to change it with knockout because I'm staying away kind of from this fight night. I'm going to go light on it. But I think it's crazy. Tapology really does have like 60% of the people saying knockout for De Silva.
Which is interesting because I'm actually looking at the line movement. I just looked at it, and Yakovlev is from the Tapology scorecards are wrong, or as far as what they have it at minus 130, because it's minus 165 on the official betting lines. I was just using the Tapology, so they haven't updated that. Yakovlev is turned into more of a favorite.
I think that's connected somewhere on all the cards, because you know how sometimes there's different odds on different sites?
Yes.
And it could depend on what one they have it hooked up to on their website to draw off of.
Okay. Yeah,
you know how
whatever.
Sometimes it
right.
does like a scale of like between 110 and 160 or, whatever.
Right.
I don't know why I'm feeling Yakovlev knockout in Russia. Like he's just going to come out there, and if he's another guy who popped and we think the UFC is going to start letting some of these guys just fight overseas and whatnot, not be in the same stringent drug testing of USADA, then who knows? But I don't know anything about Alex De Silva, so stick with what I know. Yakovlev, KO round 3.
8,300 for the favorite, Yakovlev, on DraftKings against Silva, 7,900. I see myself playing Yakovlev a good amount because not only do I see him having a way better ground game, I see him being as good, if not better, striking as well.
We do have a little rule too, ring rust is real. But
True.
I think a lot of the guys, when they come in after a long time back, they tend to do well, like the GSP, the Chad Mendez or whatever. But something that I heard, what was the weird fact? Only GSP going down in weight no fighter going down in weight has ever won, like the champion versus champion, where like somebody steps down to fight the champion. No one's ever won. No one does good at that except GSP. So I just thought that was...
What about Cejudo? No. Dillashaw? No.
The smaller guy always wins.
Interesting. I'm going to have to do some back research on that. That sounds factual. It sounds very bro science, but very factual as well. So, fun one we have in Yakovlev there, I think. Live wire for a finish, potentially. At 170 pounds, we have two returning fighters with Zoltan Aliev versus Kita Nakamura. 14-3 for Aliev, coming off of a loss 11 months ago to Warley Alves via TKO doctor stoppage. He has a split decision win over Jan Blachowicz as well in there, losing the Kenny Roberts TKO, and that was his debut. The 34-year-old fighting out of Russia. He's definitely well-rounded all the way around. Is he one of these doggy fighters? I feel like he has one of these like weird karate or sambo style, like lifelong martial artist in Aliev. Good everywhere, good striking, good head movement, puts his chin down, moves forward, and doesn't have a lot of holes to exploit. In Kinta Nakamura being 34-9, coming off of a win in his last split decision over Tahuri. Prior to that, losing to Rocco Martin 11 months ago, getting a win over Morono, losing to Zaleski. Nakamura also beat Kyle Noak, is just one of these grinder Japanese fighters who likes to use a lot of tricky wrestling. Okay striker, but the later it's gone into his 34 years old, which they're both at 34 years old, Nakamura has started to slow down a bit more. I don't know if I've just seen more of his career because he's been fighting far longer in the UFC, so I've just seen a lot more tape on him, and he doesn't look like he used to. Age is catching up to him, but he's one of these tricky guys where he really slows down a fight. Look at any Nakamura fights. They're not high-paced. Nakamura grinds you down, makes everybody look into a look worse than they really are, and it's because his granite chin and good fight IQ in there always turns it into a dirty split. Being in Russia, though, Aliev does have a little extra in his corner, and I think that the takedowns are going to be crucial here. Nakamura has to get this to the ground in order to win, and then on top of that, it has to be decisive 10-9 rounds. So I like to back Nakamura. He's one of the guys that I regularly put my money behind because he just has so many check marks in grind style. He's always in a dirty split type of fight. But here, being in Russia against a fighter who might not be as battle-worn, I gotta go with Aliev here, thinking he can fight off the takedown. I see another dirty split coming. I'm going to probably stay away from this one on DraftKings. I see it being a low score anyway. If there is a knockout or a finish, I do see it being Aliev's way, but I had Nakamura earlier on in the week. That wrestling. I love Nakamura's wrestling. I do just look back at his tape, and he slowed down dramatically in his last fight, and he's due for a loss technically if his record tells you anything. He's one of those guys that win one, loses one. His entire career in the UFC, he can't put more than 2 wins together.
I kind of look at him that way, but he only loses to monsters. In my opinion, the guys he's losing to are fucking contenders. Anthony Rocco Martin is a little sneak fest coming up.
Zaleski.
And Zaleski, he survived Zaleski. Granted, it was 2 years and 6 months ago, so still a beast. Not quite the monster he is today. Like, Zaleski today kills Zaleski back then.
Zaleski's a better fighter because of that Nakamura fight, though.
Yeah, I agree. Aliev, it's a lot to come back to, and the thing about Nakamura is he's unassuming. He's unassuming, and he slowly drowns you. Aliev, it's a lot to ask to come back to this kind of suffocating fight. I think Nakamura just pulls it out again, and I would say the win one, lose one, win one, lose one, but it was a split decision last time, so maybe that throws it off a little bit I think they both had split decisions last time. Oh, no, the doctor stoppage for Warley Alves.
Eye injury, was it an eye poke at that?
11 months ago, eye injury. Split. Oh, he had a split 2 years 3. He's just not fighting enough. Nakamura is what I know here, so I'm gonna stick with what I know in this one. And to me, it's Nakamura. I see him grinding it out.
See a dirty ass split, and we in Russia.
I know. I think that if something goes fishy in this fight before for Yakovlev and they have to use they're gonna have. I feel like I was surprised with Russian judges last time. I'll have to listen. We should listen back to the tape of us in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, we have enough
to the morning after. We have so much tape now.
Yeah,
that's what everyone else should be doing too. Gosh, yeah, but I see this is going to be another dirty split as well.
So low scoring one as far as what I'm potentially thinking.
Gosh, Zaleski and Rocco Martin.
Beasts.
If Aliev gets through this fight, and it's legit to me, where I'm like, ooh, Aliev won that. Careful.
Nakamura 8,200 on DraftKings as a slight minus 125 favorite against Aliev's 8,000 even plus 105. So slight underdog for Aliev. Super coin flip of a fight. Coin flip as they get. I'm not going to play either guy because Nakamura averages 51 points on DraftKings where Aliev averages 25 points.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nakamura, too, looking at it, it's kind of funny that he has a great chin.
Definitely.
His losses are better than his wins. Surviving his losses are better than his wins.
I totally agree with that. He's got that kill or be killed mentality, Japanese heart, 4 days, for sure. At 145 pounds, we have one of the most dreaded double debuts we've had in a very, very long time. The most amazing thing about this, we got Nakamura with like 9 fights in here. We got Yakovlev. We got all these other guys with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fights. We got
leathered ass dudes.
Yeah, these dudes that have paid their time. They got their Reebok money. They got a bunch of fight kits coming in against the double debut for the headliner of the prelims. It just makes no sense. I know they're young guys at 145 pounds. They're both debuting in the UFC.
It does make sense if Evlov, it does make sense if he's a huge local star.
He does have a good following behind him, for sure. There is a lot of hype in Movsar Evolve against Sung Woo Choi. Woo! Getting that work in. My speech teachers would be so proud of me.
Why can't everybody be Jeremy Stevens?
Right, 100%. But Evlov is coming in with a perfect 10-0 record. He, though, has been fighting some 15-5 fighters. There's a couple 0-0 fighters, 11-2, 11-2, 12-2. M1 global 14-7 type guys. He has been fighting at caliber 45ers, and his fights are actually really fun. Really liked what I saw from Evlov. He throws a good left hook into a straight right, super scrambly on the ground, throws tons of punches, moves forward nonstop, just kind of has that killer instinct. You don't really see him moving backwards at all. He's one of these guys that moves forward when he gets hurt against some of these guys that are able to dig their feet in the ground. He will dodge through our punches or work with it and eventually get the takedown. He's not afraid to go on the ground. He scrambles a little bit right now, just to scramble. Of course, he's fairly new. He hasn't seen everything in there, but it's good. He usually tries to end up on top, and he's even got a couple TKO finishes from full mounts. Again, level of competition, it's actually pretty good at this M1 level against winning fighters. We really don't see it in a lot of guys, and there's a lot of hype behind this young man. It's because he is serviceable everywhere, and he has power at 45. He hurts a lot of his fighters. Good stuff to see. This is going to be a great addition at 45.
So he has fought at 45.
He has. Am I wrong? He's fought at 35 as well. He's a young man.
Yeah, his last fight was at 35, and that's always my big worry when a guy's going up. But
and I believe he was a champion. I just told you a
stat that maybe it shouldn't worry me when a guy goes up.
But he's also 25 years old. I mean, he's putting on size and muscle, and I didn't know the exact dates on some of those fights, but I noticeably saw muscle definition changes from, 10 fights only, but there has been definitely body changes. Take that for what it's will. He could be growing into his body, could be the HGH. I don't know. Just telling you what I see on tape. So definitely a good favorite for a reason. He's a good hype train for that 45, but he needs to be fighting these lower level guys as well still. In Choi is a South Korean fighter who... Some of the hardest tape, it was so hard to fight tape on this young man. I finally found one fight,
and
literally.
You weren't even sure it was him.
I actually watched 2 fights that weren't him, and then I was like,
it was
damn it.
It was the South Korean boy band. You were like, oh, get down.
Oh, K-pop. Oh, man, throwing kicks. Why does he have a microphone on? So
is he wearing makeup?
Choi coming in at 26 years old, 5'11". The 45er is long and gangly. He's one of these prototypical Muay Thai fighters coming out of Korea. Good chin, but he has been fighting cans. The level of competition he is fighting, super, super low. The one fight I did get to watch on him, the shots, the double leg takedowns that were even half attempted were atrocious, to say the least. And they almost worked. The fact that they almost worked actually made it worse for me, because I'm like, that shouldn't even been close. The fact that you stayed in that means that you're definitely a lot lower level, and I see Evlov just kind of rolling through wherever he wants to. This Muay Thai striker in Choi, I honestly don't see him going too much further in the UFC from the limited tape that I saw from him. He's scrappy. When he got to the ground, he was going against trash cans. So it was flailing, but there wasn't real technique. It was just more movement. I think the decided favorite wins here for a reason. He's going to be someone that I might have to back off later on. But this, as you're saying, this is a setup fight. They're bringing in the Asian fighter to get a loss.
Stay on his feet, have zero ground game.
Exactly. And it's the headlining preliminary fight to start off the main card. You need to get a finish to get these guys pumped in for the main event. I got Evlov everywhere. For sure.
I agree with you.
TKO round number 2. I think Choi's tough enough to stay in it, but it's one of those where it's going to be like, throw in the towel round 1, guys. Come on, throw it in. He's getting beat up, and his toughness
could even move it up
to
1.
I agree with that.
I don't even have anything to add on it. I think that is well said. And
so what is your official pick on that one?
KO round 2.
I have that as well. Remember to like and subscribe at Zoltanite, at Weekneck Baby, always at Lesbo and the Bean. Hit us up on that IG.
And LATB_MMA on Instagram right now is how you find us. I think that's right.
I thought you were going to say that that's the way you get some of the best body soap in the biz.
Oh, no, that's Labby 15. And you can also look up that company, Lather and Company, on Instagram. So you can check out all their stuff. They have a huge shop, and it's not just about mat soap and Flora, and which is their facial detox bar. They have a lot of stuff. Like maybe you want to buy it for your ma.
Or your lovely lady. Mother's Day's coming up. Guarantee you wouldn't even have to wrap it. They sell it. They send it gift
all
wrap.
Done. It's all done. Everything's done in the box.
Fellas, if you want the easiest gift for any loved one, get the soap pre-done. Open the box and just come out of the room and be like, "Oh, there you go, hon. I saved it. I saved it for you.
I wrapped it.
Yeah, I got it." Exactly. That's between us. That's between us.
A little latheringcompany.com. Use the code LATB15 and get yourself 15% off. And if you spend $25 or more in the continental United States, you will get free shipping and handling, which is a great deal. Even though I heard they're really good about if you don't order enough and have to pay too much for shipping and handling, they contact you and they're like, hey, you could spend a little money in our shop and we would pay for the shipping and handling to you. So they're a good company, all organic. Hit it up. That's all I have to say about that.
Another little extra life hack there, throwing it in there. So to the main card we go, and we're going to open it up at 185 pounds. We have Krzysztof Jutko coming in against debuting Alan Admedsky. Does he have a nickname? The Bellator fighter.
Not
Alan.
one guy on this whole card has a nickname either, except one guy way down at the very bottom.
Tommen.
No, it was like
There was Tommen.
Craziest nickname Thunder of the North is Yakovlev.
Yakovlev.
Yeah. And Tibur is Tibura.
Yeah,
which is like, whatever. But there was another.
The Tommen.
No, that was it.
Yeah, that was the other one.
Oh, yeah, the Ottoman.
Oh, not Ottoman.
Oh, Lord.
No.
Orlianchik.
It's not Ottoman, it's Tommen. It's a rough one, for sure. But Jutko.
Ataman. Ataman.
I was reading it Ataman.
No, it's all together. That's why I was saying Ottoman. I was just adding an O.
Atan-man. I thought he was freaking... no, I'm not going to get into the political
jokes. Do you think Olianchek should walk out to...
100%. Lord himself does need to be walking after that.
Now I'm running through Liko, Thunder of the North. I guess there are a lot of nicknames. K-Taro. But not any of the ones that matter.
Not the ones that matter. The ones that do matter. Jutko coming in with a 19-4 record, coming off a 3-fight losing streak, but it's against top-level fighters, against David Branch split decision. Then he lost to Uriah Hall TKO in a fight he was dominating. Then last losing to Brad Tavares TKO 11 months ago. The Tavares loss, a little bit rougher. Uriah Hall fight, he was whooping all over Uriah Hall until that knockout came in that third round. So Jutko, jack of all trades, master of none, little bit of power, serviceable ground game. Chin is a little suspect. Jutko does tend to get a little bit hurt in there, and that's where he tends to do his worst work. Ooh. It's when that little Jutko in your nose. You got a little Jutko in your nose.
I'm allergic to Macedonians.
But the Polish fighter in Jutko has definitely had a lot more UFC level experience.
Macedonia is not in Italy. I don't think it is. He's Macedonian, but he fights out of Italy, and I know for a fact that's one of the only countries we don't have a listener. So fuck Italy.
Lesbo's got a bone to pick.
Sorry.
With Italy, we all know that Chicharito, not one of our favorite fighters.
Italy seems kind of like the Florida of Europe.
Hey, Florida's a mecca for fighting. Uh-oh. So, Alan is a perfect 8-0, but I mean, he's fighting fairly low-level competition. He did have a couple wins, though, in Bellator, 4-0 guys prior to those Bellator competition. A 7-1 is his biggest level, and he walked right through them. I mean, was able to just throw heavy dude in punches to get it done in there. Moves forward. We haven't really seen him go into the later rounds against high caliber competition. From what we've seen, he tends to blow people out by just putting his head down, moving forward, and throwing bombs. Takedown defense, semi-tested in there. It really haven't seen any big shots from any good competition. So Jutko, by far, if he decides to take this down, is going to have a much bigger advantage. The limited stuff that I did see from Alan. But striking-wise, Jutko's one of these guys that can all of a sudden go limp, and you're like, what punch even hit him? I feel like we've seen those type of stuns on Jutko's record before. Even if he comes back and wins, I feel like he's always getting hurt in his fights. So that's where he went to that split decision with Branch and stuff. But ground game-wise, there is the direct path to victory for Jutko. Striking-wise, it is going to be a little bit hairier. I'm going to go with Jutko decision. He's a heavy favorite here, and I don't think that it should be rightly so. I actually could see that you could go dogger pass here, because if this is a DraftKings line, Allen has a real shot at getting the knockout potentially. I go Jutko decision. I'm going to stay away from this one. Who do you have in this fight, and why?
I have Jutko decision only because I said I was sticking with rules, and I have to stick with what I know. But right before, I was like, oh, I have to stick with rules. I did have Amadovsky knockout round 1. Because I just think he comes forward with so much pressure that Jutko is not going to be able to get him I was hoping Jutko moved up in weight or something, but he hasn't. And so I'm going to hope he's smart enough to handle the onslaught, wears him out in the first round, grinds him out in the second round, and then can stand up with him by the third and work out the decision. Those are my hopes. Jutko, decision.
Jutko, 8,000.
I don't feel confident about it.
I agree. Minus 190 for Jutko as the favorite. 8,600 for Jutko on DraftKings. 7,600 for Allen on DraftKings. I actually might put Allen on a couple spots there, just because if it's a win for him, it's a finish. So it would play that out heavy. I don't think I'm going to go heavy for Jutko there, but he could finish on the ground decisively as well. I could just not be giving him the true props he needs there. But you know what we're here for. The people's main event. The unofficially crowned Antonina Shevchenko is living off of the limelight of her sister. I mean, unofficially, I'm being a dick there, but the older sister is definitely not had as much success as her younger sister, and her skills haven't necessarily translated as much as her sisters have into MMA. Shevchenko has dabbled in MMA for a little while, but really goes to decisions, doesn't have a ton of knockout power, but she never even really did when she was professionally fighting as a Muay Thai striker. She's coming in against Roxanne Modafferi. Modafferi coming in on somewhat short notice, or this used to be Magaña, was it? And Magaña fall out, I believe. So
I don't know if I just made that up. It really was.
You could have made that up.
I thought they were.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That was the hope, or no, maybe Montano.
I think it was.
Like it seems like her.
Oh, Montano ducking a
out.
Shevchenko.
Yeah.
Tell me when I haven't heard that before.
It seems like her to fall out.
So Roxanne Modafferi by far coming in with the much heavier record at 22-15, being a top contender and the women's tough series. Modafferi coming off of a loss to Sarah Eubanks decision, beating Barb Honchank in a TKO, losing to Montano, beating Whitmire, losing to Eubanks again. I mean, we love Roxanne Modafferi because if you ever want to see a fight nerd and officially have that be called a fight nerd, that's Roxanne Modafferi. She loves Dragon Ball Z. She loves anime. She loves pigtails. She wears freaking, what is that? The Hocus Pocus, not Hocus Pocus glasses, Harry Potter glasses. I mean, she does it all. I love Roxanne Modafferi because she's a genuine person and a lifelong martial artist, and she lets you know that not all martial artists are built alike. She's built like a 32-year-old soccer mom, and that's okay. She does it with heart and grind and actual technique and savviness. On the ground, Modafferi gives up people all sorts of trouble. The hard thing is that we've seen her for so long that at 36 years old, she just has rough takedowns. She can get bullied over on her takedown attempts as well. If she had a little bit more of that stepping behind, when she gets on the ground, when she's on top, she's fairly serviceable and can really put elbows down, as we've seen of late against Honchank. But against Shevchenko, who's 34 years old, striking-wise, she should have a much bigger advantage. Roxanne Modafferi just really throws a right or like a straight, really slow jab into a right. Modafferi's game is mainly to get it to the ground, but that was going to be a lot of the Montano fight, I think, against Shevchenko. So she's been getting ready for this, and she has her sister getting her ready for this, and there's great takedown defense.
Sister, Rose Namajunas,
100%.
Chris Cyborg, who's a little homegirl that just killed her last fight that we really like. Aldridge,
yeah. Well, she lost, but killer round she won.
Yeah, killer, yeah.
For sure. But Antonina Shevchenko, 7-0.
Brutally lose. I'm sorry I said that.
Well, she was winning that fight for a split second.
What did she get hit with?
By Macy Barber, she got hit, I feel like, finally a right, and then elbows, eventually. But she hurt Barber. A lot of people, I shit my pants there. She was a big underdog. But Shevchenko likes to keep it striking, uses her knees okay. She likes to get into decisions, really. I mean, the couple finishes she's had have been against super low-level competition. And Modafferi, even though she doesn't look like the atypical fighter, she's not low-level competition, especially at this level. She's up in the higher ranks. So I see this being a dirty-ass split decision. I do think that Russian fighters like it standing a little bit more, but if it goes to the ground, I see Modafferi landing on top or getting a little bit more sweeps, and I see Shevchenko just giving away rounds because she is a Muay Thai fighter, and she gets going in that second and third round, so she could give up that first. Second round could be iffy. Third round could be Modafferi's or not. Give me Shevchenko decision, but I'm not confident in this one. I'm going to stay away. I don't see heavy points being landed for either fighter. Who do you have?
I agree. I think the takedown defense is going to be fine for Shevchenko. I think the line is way off. There's no way Baby Shev should be, and I know she's not Baby Shev, everyone.
Big sister Shev.
But I want to call her Baby Shev because to UFC world, she's Baby Shev. So the Pantera, she actually shouldn't be 330 under or heavy.
I totally agree.
That's
way too
crazy
heavy.
to me.
Way
so
too heavy.
Roxanne Modafferi is going to give her a little bit of hassle here. The only problem with Roxanne is she usually hangs out and fights way longer than any of us feel great about. She just has a ton of toughness and tenacity. And the people that she does win against, it's like, she hits them with a grimy elbow, which Shevchenko should have all the advantages on the feet. She should be able to point fight this the whole way. I do see the nervousness though, and I wanted to go with stick with what I know. That would be Roxanne Modafferi, and to kind of pick her here. I don't think Antonina Shevchenko is anywhere near as dangerous as her sister is. I don't think she has the knockout power. I got Shevchenko decision. I don't feel really heavy about it. I think, this is what I was going to ask you. Really the only question is, and this is what I think wins Shevchenko the decision. I don't even think it's a dirty split because every single time Antonia lands, we're all going to know about it.
Very true. Very true. Hey!
Ha!
Hey!
Hey!
Hey! 100%. Valentina's going to be in that corner.
And we know that audio is just as much like the audience sometimes wins a fight when things are brutal. So that her right by the judges and every single one of Antonia's shots is accented by that.
Well, and I feel like it is Russia. Shevchenko sisters are gonna be fame. They're gonna be fame. So
fame there.
People are gonna be.
They're not Russian, but cool.
Right. Well, they're gonna be in town. They're gonna drive in from 3 days on the back of a camel to watch this fight, and they're gonna be going along with Shevchenko. Also, they're gonna be cheering her on, so they're gonna be hyping up those strikes.
But I think Modafferi will end up training with the Shevchenko sisters afterwards. I see a ton of sportswomanship here, and I think this fight is going to end up with hugs all around.
Totally. 9,300 for the huge favorite in Shevchenko against 6,900 for Modafferi. This is a flat-out stay away from both fighters. I do not see this scoring high enough to pay out for that 9,000. And Modafferi, even though she's an underdog,
she is not. Let everybody else think it's other Shevchenko, and you stay away from it. Let 80% of the other people let it ruin their card with a big 64 points or something.
100% correct on that for all that money. At 205 pounds, we have Devin Clark coming in against debuting Ivan Sirkarov. Sirkarov's coming in at 30 years old with a 16-0-1 record. I don't know what that draw decision was against Giorgio Dos Santos, but he's fighting out of the PMK fighting system out of Russia. I have no experience about the PMK fight league. He did fight Thiago Silva, though, 4 months ago, won via submission armbar, and also Fabio Maldonado stoppage via TKO punches. And we know Maldonado is a walking punching bag, so a lot of people haven't been able to do that, Maldonado. They can't get him out of there. Same with Thiago Silva, and the fact that he last submitted Thiago Silva, who is a submission guy. That's how he got into the top 5 of the 205ers in the UFC. So Ivan coming in with a good amount of hype after fighting 2 solid heavyweights. And this 30-year-old definitely has been fighting at level competition. Maybe a little subdued, but it's definitely a winnable fight with Devin Clark. Devin Clark is one of the most underperforming fighters for me in the UFC. I keep saying it nonstop. Jackson Wink disciple, 9-3 record, coming off of a loss, but prior to that, beating Mike Rodriguez. He lost to Alexander Rakic TKO, which doesn't look like that bad. Also beating Jan Blachowicz via submission. And those 2 fights, it was really
Losing.
He lost those?
Yeah, you said beating Jan Blachowicz.
Oh, sorry. But he lost to Blachowicz and he lost to Rakic. Those guys really beat the living daylights out of him, especially with the wrestling. And Devin Clark is like a Max Payne Griffin in there, where the 3rd round, it doesn't matter if Devin Clark was hurt or not. He's so gassed that it looks like he's hurt, and he just hangs on for dear life. He's really wavy in there. Punches look like they land harder, but the more I see that style, the more I think they're rolling with the punches, and just kind of, it accentuates the punch, but it also takes a little bit off of it, if that makes any type of sense. But again, in Ivan, this guy we've seen throws heavy-duty punches, striking, and on the ground we don't have to worry about much. Devin Clark is a wrestler who uses mainly his takedown defense to keep it striking, but when he gets into hard brawl type of battles, he's not scared to go out, as in be knocked out in there, but he also just throws enough caution to the wind where he's like, all right, I'm ready to go out, where I see why the favorite is coming in here as a favorite. I think it is more of a fade on Devin Clark than anything, even though he has much more experience here. This is going to be one of these passes for me completely. Devin Clark isn't fighting out of Jackson Wink. He's actually fighting out of Sioux Falls, North Dakota, but I do think he's cross-trained around. I'm not making that one up, but...
No, sometimes Tapology's behind on that.
On those, right? But either way, I'm going to go Ivan. I don't like that he's this big of a favorite against Clark, but it's a fade on Clark more than anything. He's just one of those guys I can't ever trust to put my money on because he can land that knockout shot, but he took a beating beforehand.
How is Shirkov's ground game? Like,
it's good. If he could submit Thiago's Santos.
It's Thiago Silva. And
Silva,
how old
Silva.
Thiago Silva? He's like 1,000 years old.
He's like 37, 39, somewhere in there. Somewhere. Yeah, he is a bit older. He's definitely on the backside of his career. So, but yeah.
And you never even heard of PMK. And Maldonado, how old's he?
Oh, well, he's a walking punching bag.
Devin Clark, he's gotten like on MMA by the numbers, 13 takedowns over his last 6 fights. That is a lot of takedowns. True. So I think he's got to have a pretty good he's going to be gassed. And the other, you were saying that he gets really gassed, and I really took in everything you said to try to make my decision on this fight. And I'm going to stick with what I know on this. Yeah, I think this other guy, it might be a Mack truck, and he might be one to watch, but I am not jumping on that yet. Devin Clark, in my opinion, losing to Rakic is not bad at all. I think Rakic is a dangerous man in the division and one to watch. And Jan, I've been on the Jan hype train the whole entire time, so losing to him submission is not bad at all, in my opinion, either. I think he decisions a lot of guys, and I think he's going to drag this to decision as well. It has to be decisive. I think that Shirkov, the Ural Hulk, is going to be... That's his nickname, Ural Hulk.
Ural Hulk. Sounds like a urinal.
Hulk. Ural Hulk.
Urinal is what I hear.
The Hulk. It sounds like he's just too much of a hype train right now. And just because he beat guys that I do know their 2 names, they're just not UFC caliber. And Devin Clark is fighting next level guys. I don't like that Devin Clark is fighting in 4 months of a brutal finish. Back fist, but here goes. Clark decision. I'm going to cover both guys in places.
Underdog. There's not many underdogs, if any, that I have. I feel like I've been going all chalk favorites, but that's why it's not a betting favorite night. I feel like this is one to save your money on because a lot of people see it going this way. It's, one of those atypical European cards where they stack the deck in their favor to have everybody going home fat and happy and witnessing a knockout for their team, potentially. So, on DraftKings, we're going to end up having to pay
Devin Clark is the younger guy. Isn't that nuts?
Interesting. How old is Devin Clark in this?
29, and the other guy's 30.
Interesting.
I would have thought the other guy was like 24 and Devin Clark was like 31.
Ivan, debuting in the UFC, 8,700 on DraftKings against Devin Clark, 7,500. Also being the favorite in the fight as a debut fighter. I'm going with Ivan, but 8-7, he has to get a finish pretty much, so maybe 10%. Devin Clark, I don't think I'm going to put anywhere. He averages about 52 points for 7,500. Do you think you're going to play him because you are outright picking him?
I'm going to pepper both guys, I think, on separate cards.
I think actually that's probably a pretty good play.
30 and 30, but I'm probably going to go light 6 cards. Probably going to do like 6 cards.
Total throughout the night.
How much money remains from me only.
The options as well, because
Maybe
this
I'll
is a
take
European
my Chad
card.
Mendez money. And
This is one of those European cards where DraftKings might not have a televised only. DraftKings also might have very limited options as far as money, because it is, let's say, not the most casual friendly card.
so ESPN.
It is going to be on ESPN the whole way, so it's not for the casuals. It's not for the casuals.
This is not late casual, Brendan, I'm terrified.
At 265 pounds, you have a right reason to be terrified, because the big boys are coming in with Sergey Pavlovich coming in against Marcelo Gome.
Okay, all ESPN. I saw upcoming, and I'm like, oh no, it's all on Fight Pass. I just got rid of my Fight Pass. Oh no. Okay, never mind.
So, Glome coming in with a 6-2 record, only losses in the UFC to Timothy Johnson a year ago, and Ajan Boulard 5 months ago. Glome has only lost twice, and it's those two fights in the UFC. So definitely maybe not UFC caliber. Glome can only fight on the local scene as far as heavyweight in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The 26-year-old tends to be a Muay Thai striker. Ground game, almost non-existent. Take down the fence, pretty much non-existent as well. I mean, he can maybe shuck off one takedown, but pretty much if you chain wrestle on Glome, it's not hard to eventually get him down. Pavlich does that at times, but really likes to keep it striking as well. He was actually a favorite for his debut against Overeem, which was nuts here to us. We had Overeem as a plus money underdog, and guess what? Easily cashed, because Overeem has just had a championship level experience, and Sergey at 12-1 only lost in the UFC as well, but it was to much higher level competition than Timothy Johnson and freaking, who's the other one, Boulard. So Serge likes to keep it striking as well. He's fighting in Russia for all of the right reasons. You know why. He ain't getting tested out in Russia because he's one of these guys that you're like,
he looks like the real Khal Drago.
Unbelievable body on this man. He's got no neck, just traps, and throws heavy-duty punches. I mean, against Overeem, it's a different story. Against the Glome's going to sit there and pretty much be a punching bag. I think everyone sees this as well, pretty much being a punching bag on the ground. Glome doesn't have anything even to try to get it there. We've seen Glome at times reach for a takedown, but it was, again, reaching, so a knee would probably come up his way or an uppercut. I just see this being lopsided. We've said there's been set-up matches all night. Guess what? You're getting another one here. Sergey, big favorite for a reason. I have TKO round number 1, and it's just Glome is in UFC caliber. Who do you have in this fight?
Round number 1. I want to move mine up now. I have round number 3, just because he does tend to go to decisions with other enormous guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to move it up to 2, since you have 1.
Okay.
I'm going to... There. So, Pavlovich, KO, round 2. I don't need to say anything about it.
On to 155 pounds, we have returning Islam Makhachev coming in with a 16-1 record, having all sorts of credible wins in here. He has beaten Chris Wade, T-Bow, Nick Lentz, coming off of 8-month win over Kajan Johnson. Raging Cajun got his walking papers after losing to Makhachev in a submission armbar. I mean, Makhachev, I want to say jack of all trades, master of none, but it's not that easy because he's not just the jack of all trades. He's a high level. He's an expert in all those trades. He's not just serviceable. He's one of these guys that can snipe you standing, can submit you on the ground, and can just flat out wrestle you with a great gas tank and a solid chin. It's just really hard to get in here against this Russian fighter, and it's really, really surprising that they're bringing in a debuting 13-1 fighter coming off of the local MFP scene, beating Julio Assunção decision 10 months ago. He's fighting guys with 25-12 records, 15-5 records, 6-1 records, 16-6, but it's not UFC caliber. We're seeing Makhachev fight UFC caliber contenders and beat them. Maybe Lentz might be the only contender left of late in there. T-Bow's out of there. Who else is out of there? Wade's no longer in the UFC.
And Nick Lentz, I dig him, but he is just he's a doorstop more than he has a title run.
And he's changed his game since he moved camps. So Nick Lentz is different than when Makhachev fought him. So a little bit different there, I do believe. Either way, Makhachev, we've been saying it all night. We saw it in the last fight. We've seen it in previous ones. This is another setup fight. I would want to break down Arman's tape and everything. The Russian fighter fighting out of Armenia, 22 years old, is a huge underdog for a reason. He has some TKOs in there, some decisions. The limited tape I saw on him, I want to say Nardiev against freaking who?
He loves Nardiev.
Perseris. So this is potentially one of those makings. Like Arman, I like what I saw from him, but the tape and everything tells me he's not going to win this fight because Makhachev has the experience, has been in tougher fights, has been able to grind him out and just do well. But Arman has that type of power where he hurts guys randomly, where you think that he walked away with just a random brawl, but he'll half clip someone, and even his half punches seem to wobble guys. Again, lower level competition. So Makhachev definitely has a check mark there, but I'm going to go with Makhachev decision. I could even see a later finish in the later rounds just through that veteranship and grindingness to come through, but I think Arman, the Armenian, definitely... Did I just give him a nickname? I think I did. Arman the Armenian is
the Ottoman.
Is definitely a live underdog in there, but Armenian. I'm not going to be able to pick him. Armenian. I think that for a pump play, for someone who might be on that top prize winner and nobody sees it, is going to be Arman if he gets the finish, but it's an uphill battle.
Get the finish here.
But it's an uphill battle. It's not easy.
You know what? In my opinion, Cajun Johnson was winning the last fight until he wasn't. And a lot of the other wins, like Linton Tebow, and it's super spotty. The best win, in my opinion, is going to decision with Nick Lentz of everyone. Mm-hmm. That is a really solid win to me. I like what you're saying, that Arman could be one of these sneaky guys with the right camp and the right training over the next year or 2 years, that all of a sudden we watch him make leaps and bounds in the division. Whereas Islam Makhachev, he just kind of never, there's guys that come out of Russia that we just are like, woo woo, he's not one of those guys.
He was for a time, but I do think his stock has started to fall a little bit.
So he's a heavy favorite for a reason. It's UFC experience all day. Anything could happen though in this fight. I have Makhachev decision, and gosh, I can't believe a guy unknown, and I'm going to stick with what I know, so obviously Makhachev, but I like what you're saying about Arman and him being a, sneaky guy, like one of those style benders that you see way off in the distance.
Right.
And I know everyone's like, oh, style bender, easy to say, but he was one of the people we talked about, like a Nardiev, way off in the distance, one of these guys that you're like, oh, a Ngannou,
right,
a Shevchenko. These are all guys that, if you've been listening to the show long enough, we set him way out in the distance. I don't know anyone that was on Shevchenko. I don't know anyone.
I just want to say with that Nardiev one, I remember saying Perseris is too much, but this kid's going to be a fun addition and he's going to run for it. I can kind of see that but it's again...
The Legends of Nardiev.
Super uphill battle. 9,400 for the humongous favorite in minus 345 for Makhachev against Arman's 6,800. I think you can put both these guys on your line, honestly, because 9-4, highest priced fighter on DraftKings. He could finish in the later rounds, but this could be a one-round sparking as well.
He could get knocked out, too.
Arman
has the power in his
I could do 10% of Arman. 10%.
I like that.
And if he hits at all, I'm cashing on that card. If he hits at all, I'm cashing on that card.
It might only be, honestly, I have so many underdogs that I can afford Makhachev, but he's not a kind of fighter that should be so highly priced.
I totally agree with that. I do think it's a little steep for Makhachev potentially. Again, debut fighter. The night has been set up fights for these Russian fighters to get wins, and this is one of those potential fights, is it not?
I think so.
So
that's what they're trying to do.
They're trying to. We'll see what this young man can do. I'm excited for that one, for sure. To the main event we go.
Is that the Kardashians? Are they Armenian?
Oh, I thought he was tinfoil hatting with
I think he
Tripoli. He's Armenian.
Is he Armenian as well?
He is Armenian. Look at his neckline. Oh, boom.
I don't know what that means.
Harry Armenian? Nowhere.
I never heard that. I don't know.
My bad, you made me get deeper. I just stepped in it way worse, thanks.
I thought you were talking about the Kardashians.
That's what I was saying. Harry. I'm getting all that LASIK. So, to the main event we go. 265 pounds. We have a replacement in the main event with Alexei Oleinik coming in against Alistair Overeem. The 57-11-1 fighter, Oleinik, is only lost once in the UFC to Curtis Blades via doctor stoppage a year ago, but has last rattled off a win against Junior Albini via Ezekiel choke, and then Mark Hunt rear naked choke 7 months ago. Oleinik tends to be a one-trick pony. He's a submission guy, has a heavy overhand right, and has hurt a lot of guys with his overhand right.
He just uses it to get inside. So
that's 100%.
That neck.
And he's one of these guys he will throw all of his weight into his punches because he's like, oh yeah, take me down when I stumble because I want to get to the ground anyways. Exactly. So he always makes for a tricky fight because he's able to unleash his hands better than most people. Even though he doesn't have good hands, he's just a heavyweight who any heavyweight can knock you out. But against Overeem, again, this is a tough battle. Interesting thing that I have in the background for these two is they've trained before. They've went to camps before, and they've actually rolled. Neither of them talked about their experience, but they both said, yeah, I remember. Oh, okay. So Overeem coming in with tons of credentials. K1 striking champ, pancrase ground specialist, title contender. I mean, beating some of the highest level guys in there. His biggest downfall has been his chin, Overeem's chin. He's popped on steroids multiple times. I feel like a couple times it's been tainted supplements as well. You know, the horse meat defense as well didn't work so well for him. But Overeem has some of the best intercepting knees in the entire sport. Some of the best combinations in the entire sport. On the ground, one of the best guillotines of all time. Ask Stipe Miocic. Ask him. I still think he tapped. I'm just saying. But on the ground, Overeem is heavy. He's heavy on top. He can sweep from the bottom. He understands the ground game where Oleinik beat a lot of these Albini, no ground game at all. Got him with an Ezekiel choke. The other guys he got in an Ezekiel choke. Hunt, submission, not a ground guy at all. Where Overeem understands the ground so he can at least get back up to his feet. Or some of these Ezekiel chokes, some of these other chokes that are a little low percentage but really crafty aren't going to work on Overeem as much. So striking wise though, Overeem's still chin is not trustworthy enough, and I think that there's a high probability that Oleinik can get a finish here. I see this as a coin flip of a fight. I know that there's a huge favorite for Overeem, but with a chin as tested as his, and it hasn't proved out time and time again, I have been more surprised. He shocked me enough times where I'm like, oh, there's no way Silva finishes him. Bigfoot Silva, there's no way. Oh my God, he just got him. And we've seen that time and time again. Travis Brown, and it's gotten better for Overeem, but he should have all the check marks. I'm still picking him TKO round number 1, but I'm putting either guy on my card. I think you got to hedge your bets here.
I think Oleinik's getting finished all day. I usually don't think the caliber of guys that he's gone against is nowhere near Overeem. And
True.
Also, are they letting Overeem juice? And that's why we're watching him in Russia right now, if it goes with everything else. He only loses to the best of the best. And he's training out of elevation, so not only is he going to be juiced, he's going to have that EPO! Oh! Just kidding. I just put that on elevation.
He's popped for everything under the sun.
Yeah. So,
for reals.
Could he get caught in the Ezekiel choke? Yeah, anyone could. It's Paul Craig. But the thing is when Oleinik is done, if he takes one too many shots he doesn't like, he's not a grinder. He doesn't stay in there. He will just be done. He will He will turtle up and just be done and take enough shots until it's over. That's what I see happening here. Being able to survive Verdum, again, this is another person that's the same argument. That's the guy with the best ground game in this division, in my opinion. So I appreciate Oleinik. It's going to be exciting for the fans to watch Overeem win. And here's to Overeem fighting overseas for the last part of his career. That's what I think happens. And I think they just let him... I think he's...
Hulks out.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Could we see Overeem again?
I would love it. And if I do see that coming in, I'm going to be putting more money on it. But he is a huge favorite at minus 345 against the big plus 200 underdog in Oleinik. On DraftKings, you're going to end up having to pay $8,900 for Overeem against $7,300 for Oleinik. Like I'm saying, I like those odds because I feel like finish for sure, Overeem first round. But let's just say that randomly gets hit with a right hand. Oleinik's going to be on that winning lineup as well. That's where I feel like it'll probably be more 70, 30%.
Ruin your night.
You ruin your, yes.
He's a night ruiner.
He is a night ruiner.
He's a night
but
ruiner.
But so is Overeem if he gets
I don't know. I never go with Overeem. I wonder what I would like to, I'm going to pull it up real quick.
Your percentage.
That's why we're here.
That's very, very true.
Let's
True what the percentages
I
has
never
been.
know what with Overeem.
But we both have TKO round number 1 for Overeem.
And you tend to go with Overeem
Yes,
more.
I do.
So
I really, really do.
Let me see how. 12 of 12 picked, and going into my little Tapology.com. They do not pay to advertise with us.
I have picked 8 out of 4 rights. 8 out of 4 fights right for...
4 out of 8, half.
No, I've picked 8 right, 4 wrong.
Okay.
So 12 total, 8 right, 4 wrong. So, yeah, 2/3 right with Overeem.
Ooh, I have picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
6 and 6.
6 and 6 with Overeem. Woo! That's not great.
But we both have TKO round number 1 for Overeem.
And I've only gone with Overeem I don't go with him that much. Yeah, so take that for what it is. That didn't make me feel better. But yeah, I have Overeem. I can't believe it. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Put them both on like 1 or 2. Don't go heavy on either because they're both night ruiners.
They're both heavyweights.
Your winning card, though, has one of these fighters on it.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, though.
And your lowest card has one of these fighters on it.
Totally agree. But as we've been saying the whole night, we just came off of a huge betting weekend. Maybe sit back a little bit. We got some heavy ones coming up in Fort Lauderdale. You know we're going to be making some money.
We have our 200th episode coming up, so maybe you guys feel like putting some input because we hopefully will have the name change by then. Are you sad about it?
We're always evolving here at LaTB. You know us.
Our sound sounds better. Our video is better. Our studio is better.
Everything's getting better.
Love you.
Let's go to the beat.
Thanks for listening to LaTB. For all things Lesbo and the Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.